Hey, Talk Israel. Welcome to another episode of The Creator's Take. I'm here with the one and only Brendan Farbstein. I'm so glad that I get to be doing this podcast with you. This is so exciting.
Thanks for having me, Maya.
Of course. So, first things first, in a few words, tell me who is Brendan? Just tell me who you are in a few words.
In a few words, that's a challenge.
You got this.
I am a motivational speaker,
Mhm.
author, and influencer. And whether you could tell on camera or not, I am 3'9". I was
Mhm.
born with one of the rarest forms of dwarfism in the world, and I help people change how they see themselves and the world around them.
I love it. I love it. So, your story, you've already started with it. It's so empowering. And I think that you've taken it a lot from your experience of who you are. So, how have you started this journey as someone who empowers other people? And where do you see yourself going with it?
So I would say my journey really starts as a kid,
Mhm.
naturally, but also looking at the kind of the arc of how things went. I really grew up hating being different,
Mhm.
so much so that when I was 11, I nearly ended my life
Mhm.
because I thought there was just no point in
Mhm.
being me and existing in a world that wasn't built for somebody like myself.
Mhm.
And that was really the point in my life that I started opening up and going to therapy and counseling and
Mhm.
realizing that I couldn't do this alone.
Mhm.
And through the help of my incredible parents, who have always been my superheroes, just realizing that I needed help and I
Mhm.
needed to get support that was more than what was being given to me. And so that was a huge turning point for me because I realized that I can't change what happens around me, can't
Mhm.
choose how people look at me or the points or the stares or anything like that, but I could always choose my thoughts and
Mhm.
how I responded. And so it was a big turning point where I think I was able to realize that I am always going to deal with adversity,
Mhm.
but it's up to me how I frame it.
Mhm.
And that really enabled me to then share my story when I was given the opportunity at 15
Mhm.
when I met a stranger in the airport, and which normally is probably the beginning of a horror story or something
Oh,
like that.
100%.
It's either a
100%.
horror story or a really good rom-com, I feel like.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was this woman who saw me on my Segway mobility device, and she was super intrigued, started asking
Mhm.
me all these questions. What is this device? What do you use it for? What's your name? What condition do you have?
Yeah.
And I could tell very early on that she was just being curious. She wasn't being creepy. She wasn't being
Yeah.
mean. And so I leaned into that and we spoke for just a couple minutes in line at security. But then I thought that was it. We went our
Mhm.
separate ways. Turns out this woman ended up being on my family and I's flight.
That's
So we
crazy.
spoke for another 45 minutes at the
Yeah.
gate. And she said in the back and forth of me telling her more about my story, her
Mhm.
telling me about hers, she said, I'm one of the original organizers of TEDx. She was
Wow.
number 3 or number 4 in the world to
Mhm.
put on a TEDx event, and it was TEDx NASA,
Oh my
of all
gosh.
things, which, that was a total light up moment for me. I was so intrigued. I was so, astounded that she
Mhm.
said that because I would always watch TED Talks with my mom after school.
The
A little bit
best.
of, a geek out moment,
The
but
best. No,
it
TED Talks,
honestly,
that was peak. It's still peak.
100
Entertainment, it's the best.
but
Okay.
it was, it really it genuinely was for both of us too. It was so eye-opening to hear other people's stories and their experiences.
Mhm.
And I said to her, how cool would it be to one day share my story on that stage?
Yeah.
But just being one of those things that you kind of say and never think there's any merit to it or ever
Mhm.
gonna happen. And a few months later, this woman, Haley, ended up getting me in the door of a local
Mhm.
TEDx event where I grew up in Richmond, Virginia.
Mhm.
And for the first time, I shared my story. And it was only a 6-minute talk, but that literally led to the rest of everything for me because I found my voice, I found this sense of purpose, and been following that ever since.
Wow. That is so cool. Actually beautiful. I've had my own experience with airport encounters.
Yeah.
None as meaningful as yours, but I have a just airport vibes, I feel is the best. You always end up locking eyes with someone at security, and
Yeah.
then suddenly they're sitting next to you on the plane. So it feels there's that vibe of encountering someone and thinking it's just a freak, like whatever, and then just like ending up next to them.
Yeah,
I feel like there's like that meaning in it, like
kismet
knowing, yeah,
for
exactly,
sure.
like
Or as we say,
serendipity.
bashert.
Beshared. There it is. I was looking for that word. I was
Yeah,
like, but no, that's so cool. So as someone who like did deal with a lot of adversity and, you know, had a lot of like difficult like mental health wise, um, where did you find your strength like in family and therapy? Like where within yourself were you able to find that strength, and how have you been able to like share it with other people? Like to find the same strength that you were able to find.
I think it really took getting to some of my lowest moments, the
Mhm.
darkest and most painful times, whether I was that 11-year-old kid not wanting to be here anymore, or whether
Mhm.
I was severely cyberbullied and listened to all of the comments that I would get, and that became my inner narrative. So
Mhm.
it really tested me, those moments. But I think all of those collectively showed me who I was
Yeah.
and what I had inside, which is resilience.
Mhm.
And so, looking back, a lot of that was because of my parents and
Mhm.
how they always raised me to see not my difference and what I'm unable to do, but more so what it does enable me to do.
Mhm.
And the fact that my uniqueness is an amazing thing,
Mhm.
but I really think if it wasn't those moments of pain and suffering and adversity, I wouldn't have the sense of resilience. I wouldn't have the sense
Yeah.
of like inner light that I do,
Mhm.
that I'm able to share with others. And so looking back, I don't think I would change anything,
Yeah.
because it gave me the ability to like have the perspective, to
Mhm.
have the ability to say, this is just another bump in the road and I'm going to use it to keep going.
Yeah, and it gives you that like empathy towards other people, knowing that like you've been through kind of what other people probably have been through with like their own adversity.
Yeah.
So,
And that's kind of the cool part too that I
yeah.
realized at 15. I knew people weren't gonna know what it's like to be in my shoes.
Mhm.
Nobody, if you're not 3'9", you don't really know what it's like to be 3'9".
Yeah.
Just like I don't know what it's like to be, 6.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
So we can't necessarily put ourselves in each other's shoes, but empathy allows us to humanize
Mhm.
and relate to the other person's experience, because I think a lot of it is universal.
Yeah.
It just shows up at different times, different stages, and that sort of thing. But we all have moments of feeling invisible. We all
Mhm.
have moments where we think we're not enough, or any of these things that, again, no matter who we are, those are kind of universal experiences. And the
Mhm.
more that we could talk about that, I think it really is just a domino effect that shows
Yeah.
other people your story matters. And the more that you share it with others, it's just a wave that keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I think that as someone who is like a very public figure now, especially on social media, you're probably encountering a lot more of people get finding traffic to your page, and then inevitably you probably might be getting flooded with negative comments, especially as someone who supports Israel so publicly as
Yeah.
well. So, how have you been able to navigate that situation? And what kind of advice would you give to creators who are going through the same thing, where they're entering this world of advocacy and talking about Israel and immediately getting flooded with negativity?
Yeah. It's really interesting, I think, because I've been kind of in the public eye since I was 15, so
Hmm.
10 years now. I've seen basically it all. And I saw from a very early age too the power of social media. It's a double-edged sword, where it could either be the most amazing thing that connects us and shows us that we're so much more alike than we are different, but it's also something that could be the most toxic and vile thing that paralyzes you in a
Hmm.
lot of ways if you let it. And so I think for me, it also is really helpful to kind of be launched in being involved in advocacy and public speaking and all of that at an early age,
Hmm.
because the experiences that I started having, whether it was on the positive and the amazing side of things, where people would come up to me with tears in their eyes saying, "Thank you for sharing your story. You unlocked something that I didn't know I had
Hmm.
buried deep within me," or it's on the other side,
Hmm.
it kind of enabled me to have this sense of, I don't know, level headedness, where I navigate the world in a very particular way.
Hmm.
And whether that's on social media or it's in person,
Hmm.
just having that sense of always looking over your shoulder, not in a paranoid way, but
Yeah.
just being very vigilant. That's
Yeah.
what it enabled me to do.
You
And
have to be
so,
cautious when you enter this field,
yeah,
especially these days. Like being a celebrity was like, okay, you see your life on screen, you see your life on a red carpet, and then like you can be off. But with social media, like if you want to be a successful creator, you have to be authentic. You have to be
yeah,
candid about your life. So you have to do that with like some sort of like security at the same time, like protecting yourself from everything you've gone through. So
100%. And
yeah,
that includes mental health too.
yeah,
Like,
100%.
I
percent
really had to learn, I think, from being burnt out, from being so emotionally exhausted, from showing up online as
Mm-hmm.
I did. I think I was being too vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways. I was oversharing, and I didn't yet realize we should be talking about our scars after they happen,
Yeah, not while
not
they're
our
happening.
wounds
Yeah,
as we're actively healing from them.
yeah.
And that for me was huge from just protecting my own peace and mental health
Yeah.
because I realized how much my own emotional stability or just my own like how I was feeling that day would be equated to social media. The
Mhm.
amount of likes that I would get, the messages that I would get of support, or just any of these things that were external and didn't really mean much.
Mhm.
And so my advice to anybody else showing up online, you have to be crystal clear in who you are
Mhm.
because other people are going to try and share their opinions, their perspectives, their agendas with you. And it's very easy to get caught up in what you think the masses want to hear or what you
Mhm.
think society wants you to be. But being true to yourself and showing up as that person is always number one.
Mhm. Beautiful. And then on the other side, rather than facing like the negatives, you also have built this like massive community of supporters, like 100,000 supporters right now that you have. What's it like to have built this community, and what do you feel like embodies like the community that you've built, and how you've been able to grow it?
Yeah, it's a blessing to have
Mhm.
so many people even interested in what I have to say.
Mhm.
And a lot of my following is because of the different audiences that I've been in front of. So a lot of that in my beginning of the beginning of my career used to be uh, teenagers, schools. That was like my main audience. And so I had a lot of a Gen Z following. And then I feel like the more that I started posting more aspects of my life and related to people in ways that I didn't know that I could, in
Mhm.
terms of they were much older than me, they were from various parts of the world that I had never even been to, that sort of thing. Um, I think it was really cool to see how people again, they don't need to be in your shoes in order to know what it's like to experience some aspect of your humanity, and that for me is really powerful to show people. I think through this life, through this example that I very physically live, can't
Mhm.
hide the fact that I'm different or I look the way that I do.
Mhm.
So I might as well show people it's about embracing what you've been born with and making the most out of it.
Beautiful. So, with this community, you could say you're an influencer, right? You're down to use that
Yeah,
word.
yeah.
What does it mean to you to be an influencer? Like, what does that word mean to you?
For me, influence is so much more than numbers.
Mhm.
It's about real intention and the responsibility that comes with that. And that's the thing that I feel like a lot of people in the social media world and the influencer world get caught up with that, oh, I don't have enough followers.
Mhm.
People don't care about what I have to say. And that's wrong. Even
Mhm.
if you have 40 Facebook friends, if
Mhm.
you have 200 Instagram followers, like any of these things that you may not think it's a huge number of people, you still have the ability to change how somebody sees themselves,
Mhm.
how somebody sees the world around them, the people around them, that sort of thing. And that's huge.
Mhm.
And so I'm not necessarily saying that we are all influencers, but I'm saying that we all have to have this level of responsibility in how we show up, and that's something for me that I'm really huge about, not just how I am on social media, but just my entire life. I feel like I am doing the world a disservice
Mhm.
if I'm not as not even necessarily as educated as I can be on a subject, but
Mhm.
if I don't allow myself to interact with people that I completely disagree with
Mhm.
or see the world in a fundamentally different way than I do, but I think that enables me to again have this perspective and also have the ability to be a bridge builder.
Mhm.
The ability to not necessarily be a polarizing figure in a field where so many people want to follow those that talk like them, look like them,
Yeah.
see the world in the exact same way. I don't necessarily agree with that. I
Mhm.
want to be somebody that can say, you know what, it's worth reaching across the aisle or
Mhm.
having a conversation with somebody that, again, may not see things anywhere in the same realm as how you see things. But
Mhm.
I think there's so much to learn from that and from conversations like that. Not that we have to interact with people that want us dead
Yeah.
or want our people or our family or whatever.
Mhm.
100% no. But at the same time, I just think if we are only surrounding ourselves with, not just in person, but on social media, our own echo chamber, it's
Mhm.
really dangerous. And it's more of a negative than it is a positive.
Yeah. It's easy to get that positive feedback. It's like fun when you post a video and you see like all of your friends and family be like, this is amazing. And it's so easy to like get a comment that's negative and just block that out and be scared because you can't. But I think with you, you've kind of embraced that where you're like, oh, like you're gonna say something to me, like let's have a conversation instead of pulling it away.
Yeah.
So
And of course,
yeah.
like that being said, there are many moments, and I would say more so than not,
Hmm.
then instead of me having a conversation or me choosing to interact with somebody that I could tell is not worth it because
Hmm.
it'd be like talking to a brick wall, I'm gonna block you. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna waste my breath. And I would say the same thing to anybody else. If you could tell you're not gonna get anywhere with somebody,
Yeah.
it's not worth it. Um, and we really, I see this every single day. We take on what we see in terms of the content. So if all we see all the time, people screaming and being horrible to each other and all these polarizing things, how do we think we're going to be in terms of our own mood or our mental health
Hmm.
versus if we're seeing things, not saying all of social media, all of the experience has to be inspirational quotes and
Yeah.
people posting their beach vacations and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, just curating your
Hmm.
feed and being responsible for your own self so that you're able to be a responsible human being in the world. I think
Hmm.
that's really what it starts with.
Yeah, beautiful. I think like that's just like the best message to give to our community because I know that a lot of our followers, people who watch this podcast specifically, are Gen Z or looking to enter the space of content creation, probably like hopefully getting to the community that you've built and don't really know where to start, don't really
Yeah.
know how to, tap into their own experiences. So I think the advice that you've already given is just like spectacular. And I think, I mean, it's time for our favorite part of the conversation, which is Israel.
Yala.
It's the yalla, like really
Ibalagan.
yalla balagan. So first thing I noticed when you sat down is the Star of David necklace. You started to tell the story and then I told you to stop. So it's time for you to tell the story. Tell me about the Star of David necklace. Tell
Yeah.
me about where you got it, how it feels to be wearing it out and about. Like, tell me about the necklace. I need to know.
Totally. So
Yeah.
I'll start with this. My first trip to Israel was 2 years ago on Birthright,
Wow.
and it was in July of 2023.
Mm.
So 3 months before everything changed. And that trip changed my life.
Mm.
Whatever you want to call it. I drank the Kool-Aid, but more so like,
Stood in front of the Western Wall and you were like, oh my God, like I get it
yeah.
now. Yeah.
It was such a life altering few days.
Mm.
And not only reconnecting with my own Jewish identity, which I felt very disconnected from as a
Mm.
young adult, but being in Israel, seeing the reality of what it is, seeing the diversity, the different backgrounds, the different religions, it was incredible.
Mm.
And so it really like made me see what Israel is from a obviously not just a realistic perspective, but being able to tell people it's not just for Jews.
Mm.
It's a safe haven for everyone,
Everyone.
basically. And yeah, that being said, I went back to Israel a year later,
Mm.
or a little less than a year later in May of 2024,
Mm.
a part of a influencer trip with Shiva Hospital,
Mm.
and got to go to Tel Aviv and spent time in a lot of the other regions as well, and found an amazing jeweler
Mm.
and walked in and fell in love with this piece. So I just love being able to show people you can be loud and proud in your
Mm.
Judaism whether it's wearing a Magen David, it's wearing a chai, it's
Yeah.
just being a proud Jew. It's something that I think is an act of protest, but it's also something that's really powerful.
Yeah, 100%. So you got the necklace in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
Favorite city in Israel? Is it
100% Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv?
Yeah. Love it. And it's cool that it combines modern and ancient
Mm,
and people that are from Israel, not from it. Like it's a melting pot of literally everything, but
mm.
in the best of ways. So Tel Aviv not only is my favorite city in Israel, so it's probably my favorite city in the world.
Oh, it's like unlike any other city. Like I feel like people ask me all the time, like what's Tel Aviv like? I'm like, well, it's like Miami, but it's also not Miami. It's like there's like so many ways to describe it,
Totally.
but what else? Like, what was another memory that you had in Israel that like you're taking with you like every day? Like when you wear that necklace and you think about Israel, like what's a memory that you attach to it that you carry with you anytime you talk about Israel or anytime you interact with people about Israel?
It really is that trip, I would say, to be
Mm,
honest, because it was both very peak moments of joy, but
mm,
also extreme moments of heartbreak. And that for me is what Israel is and what Israeli culture is as well. It's having those dualities and
mm,
still living life. And so in the middle of everything going on, this was May 2024, we stayed in Tel Aviv for the week.
mm,
And every single night going back from our itinerary and going back to the hotel after the activities, every restaurant, every bar was so packed,
yeah,
so full of life. And that for me was just amazing to
mm,
see. I mean, that's resilience in action.
yeah,
And that's literally who Israelis are, not letting these extreme moments of feeling like you are not going to get out of, whether it's depression, it's anger, it's all these things,
mm,
because there still is a lot of darkness that is glooming from 10/7, and
mm,
that you could very, very much feel in the air and just interacting with people even today.
mm,
But still realizing that people are continuing to live their life,
mm,
and yeah, so that, but also, from that trip, we got to see Rachel Poland,
mm,
Hirsch's mom,
yeah.
and I'm sorry, Rachel Goldberg. Um, and
And you knew Hirsch,
I
right?
did,
Yeah.
yeah. I went to Chabad preschool with him
So
in
he
Richmond,
grew up
Virginia.
in oh, he grew up in Richmond, Virginia.
So I think he was born in Berkeley,
In Berkeley. Yeah,
California,
see, I was
moved
yeah.
to then Richmond, and then I think ended in Chicago.
Yeah.
So they moved quite a
Around.
few places. But it's amazing to see how many people knew Hirsch or knew
Yeah.
his family, and I literally had not seen him since I was 5 years old,
Yeah.
and Rachel came and gave, basically a testimony for our group, for our
Mhm.
delegation, 15 people, and she walks in the room. I'm the first person that she sees, and she looks at me, she's like, "Oh my god, Brandon, it's so great to see you. How are
Wow.
you?" And then she starts saying, "You probably don't remember this because you were so young, but your family came over to our house for dinner one night, and I made homemade strawberry applesauce,
Mhm.
and your sister called it strapple sauce." And she was, like, so in love with it. And mind you, this is, like, mid everything going on for her.
Yeah.
She chose to see the light.
Yeah.
She chose to embody that and live that, and that's something that really is sticking with me. Not just that moment, but how Rachel and John and Hirsch's family continue to show up in such a huge way for
Mhm.
the hostages. Um, I just, I don't have words.
Yeah.
It's the most remarkable strength that I think I've ever seen in my life. And so when I put my Magen David on, I think of them. I
Mhm.
think of just how amazing Israelis are. And I think of Am Yisrael Chai, that we're going to continue living and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. And we really are just like one big family. Like at the end of the day, Rachel saw you and was like, "Oh, there's one of my family members." Like
Yeah.
when you're partying in Tel Aviv, like you're doing it with like cousins and second cousins and
Yeah.
whatever. And it's funny, like I have like family in Israel and I feel like I like walk down the street and my mom will be like, "Oh, that's your great uncle's store. That's your cousin's store." Like, "Oh, there's your cousin. Like we have to go say hi." So
I
it's
love that.
definitely very yeah. There's
It's
that
like it's Jewish geography at its
oh,
finest. We're all
100%.
1 degree
At
away from
one
each
point,
other.
yeah, at one point I'll be like, "What's their last name?" "Oh, you're related to me." I'm like, "Oh."
Hopefully you don't
Um,
find that out too late.
oh yeah, no, that's the bad part. I'm like, no Persians, dude. No Persians. Especially in LA, it's
Yeah, I
like
was gonna
very
say you probably
problematic.
have a big
I
issue with
know.
that.
It's been yeah, it's been very funny. I like meet people and I'll like call my mom after and I'm like, I met this guy. And she's like, what's their last name? And I'll tell her, she'll be like, that's your grandma's nephew. Do not talk to him
No
and hung up the phone.
way.
It's very funny. We
That's
are one big
hilarious.
family.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
love that.
it's no, it's like really something else. But yeah, so Israel, you've been there a few times. You're going there soon. What is one thing like when you go to Israel, non-negotiable that you take with you? Like you have to take with you when you go to Israel?
Okay, this is probably like a hot take,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hand sanitizer.
Okay.
This is also like not just Israel, but like I'm a germ freak.
Okay.
Not OCD level, but I'm a big germaphobe. Like if you meet me, I'd way rather you like give me a fist bump than like shake my
I
hand.
get it.
But I I guess it's just like it's a difference in culture. Like if I'm handed a piece of food to eat, I'm gonna want to like put
Yeah.
some hand sanitizer on. And you go to the shuk and you're just like handed all these
Oh
things
yeah.
and like people are touching money, then they're like putting things in their mouth and I just like for me not so much. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna make sure my little thing of hand sanitizer is always in my pocket.
Very
So
valid.
that is probably my best travel hack because
Is
I'm
hand
traveling
sanitizer.
all the time all around the world.
Uh-huh.
People don't realize how much they're like, touching their nose, touching their
Yeah,
mouth,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So just, every so often do some hand sanitizer, make sure you're washing your hands. Your future self will thank you for
Oh, 100%.
it.
I
Your
know. I
immune
feel like
system
I
will too.
always get sick after a trip is probably because of that. So then on the flip side, what's something that when you go to Israel, you're like, I have to bring this back with me? Like for me, it's the chocolate milk in the bag.
Oh
Have you ever had it?
yeah.
The choco biscuits?
Is that the one with the little crispies?
No, no, no. It's like chocolate milk, like inside of
Oh
a
wait,
bag.
chocolate milk. Okay.
I don't know what it
No.
is. It
No, I
tastes the
haven't.
same as any other chocolate milk,
Okay.
but like the fact it's
Wait,
in a
you bring it
bag. No, no,
backward?
no. I can't bring
Okay.
it back
Yeah,
with
I was
me.
gonna say, how does
It's
that?
a 12-hour
Yeah,
flight.
yeah.
I bring back the memories of it with me. But like
Yeah,
for me, like the
okay.
second I get to Israel, I'm like, we
Yeah.
have to go to Superstar and need to get my choco
Yeah.
biscuit. Is there something for you in Israel that you're like the second you get there, you're like, I have to go?
Okay, let's see. I mean, other than aroma iced coffee,
Of course.
which is like a non-negotiable. I'm a big fan of like Israeli snacks. So I mean, beastly,
Okay.
bamba,
You know they
this
have that here, right?
I know, but it's like I just it's not the same when it doesn't have ivrit on it. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't like you're not being yelled at the grocery store because
They'll
you're not
yell at you.
Israeli.
They'll yell at you. You'll be like, Bisli echad, please. And they're like, to speak in English. I don't care. And I'm like, okay.
um
Sorry, my bad.
so yeah, I would say definitely a big fan of like of course the food, the snacks. I just went to I forget what it's called. I think it's the Tel Aviv Museum
Mhm.
or something along the
Something.
lines like that.
Yeah.
They have the most amazing gift shop.
Okay.
And I'm not normally like this type of person where I care about like
The
trinkets or
little,
whatever, but
yeah.
like super cute Judaic, like gorgeous stuff.
Yeah.
And so I got my sister an engagement present, got my
Oh,
mom
wow. Mazal
something.
tov.
Thank you. Got a couple pieces of artwork for my apartment.
Mhm.
So I'm just big on like bringing things back that mean something, not
Mhm.
just magnet or
The
like
little
something like that.
things. Yeah. Love. No, there's always like the little Judaica things that you find like on little stores like in Machne Yehuda. Like I
Yeah.
feel like around my house at home, like there's like a bunch of like silver candlesticks and stuff. My mom's like, that's from Israel. And I'm like, I
Mm.
can tell. But yeah, beautiful. So in Israel, when you're there also, is there like a favorite restaurant or bar that you've gone to that you're like have like a fun story about?
Not really.
Hmm.
I mean, of course, the nightlife in Tel Aviv is like
I
legendary.
need to hear a story.
Once we finish the podcast, for sure. No, I'm kidding. I I would say I was a little bit blown away by. I mean, of course, people are gonna like party until whatever hour of the morning, but
Hmm.
it just doesn't stop. And I was like, "Guys, I need sleep. Like, I am going to crash if I don't get
Yeah.
sleep." But yeah, they are just completely Energizer bunnies and nonstop. So
Yeah.
very excited for a little bit of that. Gotta
Mhm.
pace myself, but
Oh, you're like getting ready.
exactly.
So like the nightlife scene in LA compared to like Tel Aviv, like which one would you prefer?
Oh,
Like
Tel Aviv night and
Tel
day.
Aviv,
Yeah,
yeah. Do you
yeah.
feel like it's like a better, like more inclusive vibe? Like what does the vibe feel like?
I
Yeah.
do. That's a big part of it. I'm in like the queer community,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not a huge fan of being in queer spaces
I get it.
for that reason, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like there's a space for
Yeah.
me. But in Tel Aviv, I feel a lot more accepted, and
Mm-hmm.
people aren't giving me side eye and like all these weird looks.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just get to be me and be somebody that's enjoying myself just like
Yeah.
they are. So I very much appreciate that
Yeah.
about the culture there for sure.
And I feel like that's something that's so surprising, like to our viewers and people who learn about Israel for the first time, is that like there is that inclusivity. Like there is that like in Tel Aviv, like everyone is themselves.
Yes.
So the second that like someone hears that, they're like, wait, really? Like, so was it like you probably knew before you went to Israel, but like was it surprising to you to like go to Israel and feel immediately like you belonged in this space that
Widely
yeah.
surprising, yeah. And Tel Aviv specifically,
Mm-hmm.
not that there aren't similar vibes in different other
Yeah.
places of Israel, but it's just it's amazing that
Yeah.
there is literally something for everyone. No
Mm-hmm.
matter who you are, what you like, what you're into, like all of these things, you get to be yourself, and
Yeah.
people aren't gonna care really.
Because they're too busy being themselves, you
Yeah,
know? They're like, "What
exactly.
whatever you're gonna
Which
do."
is awesome versus
Yeah.
here, people it's that, but then it's a level of judgment. It's like,
Yeah.
why are you not driving a nicer car? Why don't you
Mhm.
have more like all this stupid shit.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't, I mean, of course, you have every type of person everywhere, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I would say just the energy, the vibe, people are so into just being friendly and being like open. And I love that about Israel. It's
Oh,
amazing.
100%. Yeah, like, again, like, it just feels like a family,
Yeah,
and, like, family just, like, loves each other, and especially after everything that's happened in the past 2 years, like, it's just brought us closer together, so I feel like every time you've been able to go, it must have just been, like, more and more impactful,
yeah,
like, the resilience that, like, keeps building upon itself every single day, like, we're praying for people to come home, but at the same time, we're, like, getting closer, so that's
absolutely.
it's really yeah, really
And I think
beautiful.
for me, that's the silver lining in all of
Mhm.
this, that I would give everything that I have to not make 10/7 happen if
Yeah.
I could. But I feel like it's brought so many incredible people into my life. The Jewish community that I found
Mhm.
and the activism, the different circles that I'm now in, it's such a blessing.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm gonna have these relationships and these friendships for the rest of my life. And so sometimes it takes tragedy and
Mhm.
darkness to like really bring us together and have this like, I mean, I guess it's trauma bonding in a
Yeah,
lot of
kind
ways.
of, low-key.
Yeah.
So would you say that your advocacy as an influencer changed a lot after 10/7? Did it start to evolve to incorporate Israel more so? And how do you feel like you evolved to incorporate Israel into
Mm.
your content?
Yeah, it completely changed.
Mhm.
I feel like in a lot of ways I'm an October 7th Jew.
Mhm.
Not that I wasn't being Jewish before then, but that really like it reaffirmed my
Mhm.
belief in my identity, in my heritage, in my people, and in my belief system too,
Mhm.
and knowing what is right versus what is wrong and what side I want to stand on. And so when the 7th happened and I more so learned about my connection with one of the hostages, Hirsch,
Mhm.
that really activated me in a way that I've never showed up before when it
Mhm.
comes to Israel, when it comes to my Jewish pride and just speaking of Judaism in
Yeah.
general. Again, not that I was hiding from it in any way, but that event, that like the chain reaction that came from that really just it was like a turning point.
Yeah.
And so I not necessarily have pivoted entirely in that because I still am very passionate about my bridge building work and making sure that I'm still not ostracizing people as much as I can. Again, a big asterisk there and say, how do we have conversations that we're making each other uncomfortable and that's okay, but we're still being respectful
Mhm.
and we're still honoring each other's humanity.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm gonna continue doing as much as I can. I think
Yeah.
it's really important right now.
So our mission is to like empower our creators to start with their platform of like who they are and focus on building an audience that way and then start talking about Israel like a more
Yes.
authentic way. So I feel like you're kind of the one of the like pioneers of that where you're like this was my platform before and then you started talking about Israel.
Yeah.
So how do you feel was like the best way for you to start? Like what's the best way to talk about Israel as someone who entered the space with already like a pre-built audience who never heard you talk about Israel before. So how did you like troubleshoot that? How did you like figure out the best way to do it whilst also like remaining true to yourself and to your brand?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me, I talk about what matters to
Mhm.
me, and my audience knows to expect that. And so that I knew was kind of like the through line. It wasn't gonna be like left coming out of left field where I'm talking about something random or that I have no connection to,
Mhm.
but more so, like you said, something that I haven't really talked about on my platform before.
Mhm.
And so it was more so trying to stay away from politics,
Yeah.
trying to stay away from like as much of the contentious issues as possible. Though, I mean, this entire thing is
Uh,
incredibly contentious.
Yeah.
But still realizing that I had the ability to share the reality, to share hostages, the truth about what happened on the 7th, all of those
Mhm.
things, and wanting to do that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Um, Still, though, staying true to my personal brand, staying true to my content, staying true to my ethos of how do I make my platform and my whole spiel not alienate people,
Mhm.
whether it's based on how they think, based on how I think, any of these things.
Mhm.
And I just think to show people again, whether it's on the disability front, it's on the Jewish front, the Israel front, any of these things, it's showing the real picture,
Mhm.
and it's a it's a blessing to get to do that in the way that I do.
Mhm. Do you remember the first post that you made that had to do with Israel and what it felt like to make that post and the response that you got or you feel like it's been
I mean, I don't remember the first post. I very quickly started
yeah.
posting on the 7th,
Mhm.
and just, like, amplifying as much as I could. That's something that I'm big on too. If
Mhm.
I don't know something and feel very confident in it,
Mhm.
I would rather find the information from somebody that does, where
Mhm.
there's a source, there's somebody that has done the research, and, I could share something that is worthy of sharing instead of
Mhm.
something that is maybe half of the information, half of the picture,
Yeah.
if it were to come from me. Um, and so definitely being hesitant of how are people gonna react, what is the vibe I'm gonna get from posting about this, but also being very steadfast and, this is what I'm passionate about,
Mhm.
this is what I believe in, and I'm gonna stand firm in that.
Beautiful. And it's become a part of you as a creator now. Like that piece of talking about Israel.
Yeah,
Um and you've hopefully like built an audience of people who are happy to hear it and also happy to like learn more from you.
yep.
So, with that, what else do you feel like is on the horizon for you? Like what's next for you right now?
It's a good question. I feel like I really want to go into the world of production.
Mhm.
So whether that's doing like a TV show, a docu-series, that sort of thing. Maybe
Mhm.
that combines like storytelling and travel
You have
and
the coolest story. Like I feel like you can make like a 10-part docu-series of like everything. Like just based on what I've heard from you right now, like there's so much that you've experienced and like you've taken every single thing and built it into the person that you are today. So I feel like yeah, that I see that in your future already. Like Raven Simone, like seeing the vision of what's gonna happen in your
yeah.
life. Okay, so yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be really cool. And I am a full-time speaker, so
Mm,
continuing to travel the world and yap for a living, which is
love
pretty
yapping.
cool.
We love yapping in this house. Yeah.
But especially in the Jewish world, which is something that I've been doing a lot more of in the last year and a half, just going to different communities and reminding us of the light that exists within
Mhm.
our people and that it's existed for thousands of years and it's going to exist for eternity, and
Mhm.
it's up to us to really kindle that. And so just continuing on that path and hopefully building and scaling as much as possible.
I love it. So exciting to see like what you accomplish. You've already done so much. So I feel
Thank
like
you.
really like the sky's the limit for you. So just one last message of hope. You want to look in the camera right there and give one final takeaway. That camera right there, not that one. Just one final message of hope to our audience that you want to share at the end of this that they can take with them after hearing this conversation we
Mm.
had.
I would say there's so much going on in the world, whether right now or whether always, to be honest with you. And it's really up to us in how we see challenges, how we see adversity, whether we're going through them personally or just the world around us. And I think it's an opportunity to use what we've been given and show people that you can make the most amazing life, no matter who you are, how you are, what you look like, any of those things. It's up to you. And you're in the driver's seat of this life. Don't forget that.
So beautiful, Brandon. This was such a pleasure. I'm so glad that we got to have this
Same.
conversation.
Thank you for having me on. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Thank you guys so much. Yay!